All right, we're live. Welcome to episode 49 of the Baduk Weiqi Podcast. I'm Shao Dai, and we have Gaza in the room. Say hi, Gaza.
Yes, I'm back. I'm not sick anymore.
Yep. Well, Gaza, when you were sick, you were also there anyway. So I don't know if it's right to say you're back. But you know, Gaza, what is definitely back? The European qualifiers. I don't know if that was.
Jadai, what are we covering this week?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. We are, as I mentioned, covering the European Pro qualifiers. Okay, that's number one.
Yep.
And then we got some Japanese news. Who wins the women's Meijin Challenger final? And then we have some funny stuff from Korea. Choi Myung-hyun doing something we might have seen this season already, or maybe just similar. Very funny, caught on video. And maybe we'll cover some Korean news in general.
Some Korean domestic updates. Yeah.
Domestic updates. And then we have a very special 96-year-old pro player that we'll briefly mention. And another also very special 50-something middle-aged Japanese player we'll cover. Just give a brief update on. This person has been unbanned. And then some, show you what Kerje has been up to. And then we might go to the calendar.
Oh, Kerje,
yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. All right.
All right, where are we starting?
Yeah, good. This is another thing where I can't wait. Which is the European Pro qualifiers. Now, I do believe this European Pro qualification. It says on the website it's the 7th. So basically, Jan's name. It's what do you call this? 7th qualifier. So Gaza, does it mean that there's 7 European pros that's been 6 European pros that's been produced before this?
Well, no, I don't think so because if I recall, the very first pro qualifier had 2 pros.
Yeah. So now if I look at the page that contains supposedly all the European pros, there's 8 in the list, and the so therefore and Jan's name is not in here, so therefore he's the 9th. Actually I think I gave it away, but that's not really any kind of suspense that we should put into this. But Jan Simara, that's how I would pronounce it. He beat Lukas Podpera 2-1 in the final. Now, guys, I know.
Well, actually, if you recall, I mean, if you were following us in the last podcast, the we mentioned that the final was underway.
Yeah.
For the European Pro qualifier, and we mentioned that it was a best of 3 final, and it was between Jan Simara and Lukas Podpera. And at the very end of the podcast, I believe that Jan Simara had won game 2 to make it one game apiece.
Yep. And
so game 3 was scheduled to happen, and it happened a couple of hours after we finished recording.
Yeah.
So what happened was that Jan Simara ended up winning game 3, and therefore won the professional certificate.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes.
Clap. Now, I do remember that Jan is actually by rating the slightly lower rated player versus Lucas. I believe his official rank was 6th dan in Europe, and Lucas was possibly 7th dan in Europe, but the 6th dan actually beat the 7th dan. So that's maybe a little bit statistically less likely, but still, these things happen. So congrats to Jan. Now, another very interesting fact about Jan. Actually, I'm not even sure if his name should be pronounced Jan, but what I thought was very interesting was, if you recall, perhaps it was in the last episode where we talked about the new Korean pros, and they were all in the mid-20s. I do believe Jan is 37. So that gives you a perspective of the age difference in terms of new pros in Asia versus Europe. I believe a majority of the new pros in China are even younger, maybe in their teens. maybe even mid-teens. But in China, they have in the in the recent years they've opened up a adults group. So if you're above the age of 25, you can also qualify and become a pro, and you have your own qualification section. So yeah, so it's good to see the age group being opened up like that. But being 37 and becoming the latest pro, that possibly can only happen in Europe.
Perhaps yes. But
yeah.
Shall we have a look at the actual game 3?
Yeah. Now, Gaza, you have to let me know which move you wanted to look at. But I do believe the whole game was very, very close, despite AI saying one of the players was falling to like 5%. But actually, if you look at the points difference, it's like 1 or 2 points in it. So, Gaza, is there any particular move that you wanted to cover before we look at the cliff over here at the end of the game?
I'm trying to find my.
Yeah. Now, maybe I just mentioned that this game is played under, I do believe, Chinese rules.
It is played under Chinese rules.
Now,
yes.
I'm not sure if it's because it's a Chinese rule or it's some European rule, but that's adapted to Chinese, or they actually say that it's Chinese rules. So I'm not really sure. I'm not also sure if Europe generally plays under Chinese rules or some other rule set. But
the website said that it was Chinese rules.
Right.
So
okay.
It's not a special European rule set.
Right.
It's Chinese rules.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's Chinese rules. Now, guys, if you haven't found a move, or just let me know which move you want to go to. But I do remember looking at this Kifu, and if I look at the AI assessment at this point, the game is so close that I believe there's only 1 point in it. Even though, if you look at the graph, it says that black is at 5%, but literally there's only 1 point in it. So,
actually, yes, yeah. The first move that I was interested in was, I think, something like move 155.
155. Okay. Yep.
But before this, there was a lot of well, I mean, if you want to go even earlier, there, like near the very beginning of the game, like move 80 or so. If you go to around about move 80, you can see that white
So white is Podpera, Lucas.
Yeah, white is Podpera and
black is Jan.
Black is Jan Simara.
Yeah.
But yeah, move 80 also, you can already see that white is trying to make something in the bottom right, and it's very difficult because, like, it's already a little difficult for white because black is making a nice moyo in the bottom right corner while white is still struggling to live.
Yeah.
And I think from this point on, black gets an easier game because of white's difficulties in negotiating this group.
Yeah.
Black sort of has the easier moves from here, and I think that obviously helps. Like, white has more opportunity to play bad moves.
Yeah.
One way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so black ends up getting a very good position, and ends up, if you look at it by move 91, you can see that black ends up capturing 2 of white stones in the center.
These two, yeah.
Yeah, and doesn't really have, like, the only, like, it's hard to say even that black has that any weak groups.
Yeah.
White plays a sort of a very central move 92 to try and make that group weak, which does have a little bit of RG. But still, the game is easier for black than it is for white.
Yeah.
And so black has a nice lead, a fairly healthy lead, according to the AI, until move I think it was move 155.
Yeah.
So at this point, White now has an opportunity to invade the bottom right corner.
Right.
But it's very tricky.
Yeah.
And White doesn't play the right move. I think White is meant to play at S5 here.
S5.
Yes, and I think the idea is that White either is able to connect is either able to connect S5 to the stone, the other stones on the right, or Black seals that off and White creates complications in the corner.
Right.
I certainly don't know the sequence myself.
Yeah, this does look like a very hard to discover kind of move.
It is. It's a hard to discover move, but it's also a very hard to deal with move, which is important. And the thing is, Podpera actually does play in the corner, but he plays at S4. If you see the move in the actual game,
it's one.
He plays it.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, I mean it's one further away. Yeah.
It is one further away, which obviously does change things because Black doesn't need to do. Black can now block. Black can now block, and White doesn't. Yeah, it's no. Sorry, I mean block in the corner at R3.
Yeah. R3 attach. Yeah.
Yeah, or even possibly do that, and
R3. Yeah, R3 is here.
Yeah, but the idea of White playing at S5 is that if Black defends in that way, White can sort of connect to the stone at S8. But with White playing S4, when Black defends, White is too far away.
I would have thought that this it doesn't work.
I don't.
Yeah, no, this doesn't work. What about this one? Yeah, it's not obvious why it would work. I guess
it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's certainly not easy. And in the end, the stone sort of gets wasted.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work out.
Yeah. So okay. So I think that's what happened in the game as well. That didn't work out for White.
Yes, this is exactly what happened in the game, and so it wasn't the right. White had an opportunity to complicate things.
Yeah.
In a position where they were behind.
Yeah.
And they just didn't get it right. But and so this should have been the end of the game. Like this should have settled the game, but White ended up making a ko.
Yeah.
And this was a big ko actually
Yeah.
in the center of the board. That ko at K12.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very big ko, and I think White had to win this ko.
Right.
And
now, and I think that might bring us to, this part of the graph where, now the whole central point about of this game is all about this fighting this ko, and now, basically when I looked at AI like before this point, I just turn on AI for a little bit, okay, if I can, you see how AI just says, okay, Black is leading by a little bit, okay, so maybe like 3 points, but at this point Black should play a co-threat here or here, all right, okay, so that will be the right co-threats to play. But what actually happened was that Black played here, and Gaza, you thought that this was a mistake or like a time trouble kind of unforced error.
Yeah. Well, I looked at some of because this game was being relayed live on OGS.
Yeah. And
there were lots of commenters there. Most of them, well, they were in English.
Yeah.
And I think the actual scribe that was relaying the game sometimes made comments. And I believe the scribe made a comment that this move was sort of a panic move. Like,
right.
And Black had like no time. Yeah, last second move. The scribe said last second move.
Right.
So it's the kind of move where you're down to your last second and like you clearly haven't. Well, you're down to your last second and you realize that you have to make a move. Like you just need to make a move, otherwise you lose the game.
Yeah.
Like obviously when you get down to Byoyomi, you get to a point where you've basically considered all your options and you just play whatever move you felt was the best.
Yeah.
But when it's like a last second move, it's like
whatever, man.
You leave it too late, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't even. I haven't finished evaluating. I just need to play a move.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those ones.
Yeah.
And this move just, unfortunately, it was not a strong enough co-threat.
Yeah. Now I suspect when you're playing at a 6-dan or 7-dan level in Europe, even without reading the full sequence out, you kind of have a sense of what you're like. You get a sense of 4 or 5 moves that might be good, but you're just kind of evaluating if some of them actually even work. So maybe this is one of those moves he just wasn't able to read out in full. That he had a sense that it might work, and he was evaluating a few, and then he was told only 1 second left, so he made this move. Obviously, this doesn't really work as a code threat, and White were able to accurately read this, and White finished the code off. So now all of these black stones are now captured. So, and I think even at this point, AI just says there's only 1 point in it. So basically, White, by winning this code, just got 1 extra point. And of course, as you mentioned here, White just had a do over here, so this kind of compensates. But there's only, even though AI says White is ahead now, literally there's only 1 point in it. 1 point. So
yes, there's only 1 point, and although the game looks very much near the end, there's still possibilities for more annoyances. But so as you can see, I think this was Black's sequence, but the problem with this sequence is that none of the white groups in the bottom left die. Yeah, they all live.
Yeah.
It's clearly not a strong enough co-threat, because the value of the co is far, far, far more than what Black ended up getting in that corner.
Which is just a bit of a Yosei here,
Yes, but Black's saving grace is that he made another co.
So, I'm not really sure about it. Now, as you can see in the AI graph, this game continued for a little bit. I think both players know that it's very, very close, so they can't just let anything slip over here. And so they ended up getting a co. This obviously is quite valuable. If there's only 1 point in the game, and by this time maybe they've even done a count, and they realize how close it is. So they were just fighting this code. Now this, guys, I have to say, the next one where the White's win rate drops back down to earth is also very hard to understand. So basically what's happened is White just used this. They were fighting this code. There's 2 codes happening on this board at this moment. We skipped through.
The interesting thing was White played after Black took the co at T10.
Yeah.
White played a throw-in at B19.
Right.
If you go back a couple of moves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were having this co-fight, and then instead of making a co-threat, White played a throw-in at B19.
Right.
And then Black obviously took that co, and then White played a co-threat for the co in the top left.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't understand why White didn't just take the co, either play this co-threat without doing the throw-in at B19, or after the throw-in at B19, just take the co back at T9.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's some kind of psychology kind of thing. Maybe White was thinking that he's got more code threats, so he could kind of force Black to connect, gaining himself maybe 1 point, half a point, and then come back to fight this code. So because it's psychologically, when you throw in and someone takes your stone back, you feel like you have lost 1 point. Oh, maybe I
think he's just. I think this is a psychological thing, because the co at T10 was bigger.
Yeah. So and then White plays a code threat, which Black responds to, but White, instead of taking this code, takes this code. Maybe it's kind of psychology.
Took the wrong co.
Yeah. Well, I throw in. You took my stone, and once you take my stone, you have another move that you can take one more stone. So White's kind of just lost something. So he felt like that he wanted to make Black connect. Right, and then if Black connects, then he can restart his ko. So I think psychologically that's what he wants to do, which is actually exactly what happened. But in fact, that actually loses White some points apparently, a couple of points. But whatever the case is, even though White kind of got what he wanted by this throw in, which is to force Black to connect over here. Supposedly there should have been a bigger move on the board.
Could it be because White lost that ko threat?
Not really sure what code threat it is, but
the one at 03.
03, yeah.
Is that why White lost the ko at T10? Because White wasted a ko threat.
Possibly.
To get the ko at B19.
Yeah.
It's possible that White maybe miscounted and thought that he had to win both ko's, both the ko at T10 and B19. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that could have happened, but it's one of those things where it's just quite difficult to understand. You kind of do need the time to spend time on it to understand it. But as I said, before White's supposed mistake, which kind of magnifies and makes it look like, oh, clearly it's a mistake. It's only like 1 point in it really, and I think at the end of the game, I believe White ended up losing by 1.5 points. So if there was only 1 point in it, that mistake at max cost White about 2 points.
Yeah, roughly. And in Chinese rules, that's the smallest mistake. Like you can't make a 1 point mistake; it's 2 point mistakes. Yeah.
Right. So so basically, whatever the story was, Jan ended up winning this game. So he's won the finals 2-1 over Podpera Lukas, and therefore the new European champion. So congrats to Jan.
It was a bit weird reading some of the comments. Like there were people who were I've tried to look at a little bit of the history of Lukas Podpera's attempts to become
European
a pro, and he's actually been in the pro qualification system since the very first tournament in 2014.
Right.
And in that very first tournament, he actually was 1 game away from turning pro. He lost the final match to Ali Jabaran.
Right.
So since 2014, he's come close to turning pro. And I'm not sure what the systems were in previous tournaments, but if you recall, in 2021, we didn't cover it because the podcast didn't start until 2022. I thought this was one of the things that we covered, but I've obviously got my dates wrong. But in 2021, he was also in the final of the pro qualifier, and I believe he lost that 2-1 against Stanislav Freelak.
Right.
So, on quite a few occasions, he's reached the final game for the pro qualifier and fallen short. At least on at least 3 occasions, possibly more. And there are people in the comments who seem to be sort of genuinely concerned about Podpera's sort of mental well-being after the game. I was quite curious about it because it seemed a bit weird to me that people would be so concerned about someone's sort of emotional well-being after like a game, after a game of Go. But people seem to think, maybe because he's come so close to getting his professional certificate and fallen short.
Yeah.
So agonizingly close so many times that he may be psychologically damaged. But according to another comment, he doesn't have a history of depression or negative thoughts or anything. So I think it was just people
speculating maybe.
Speculating or wondering how they would react. Were
Yeah.
they if they were in his shoes?
Right.
So I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything of concern there. But it was certainly something that I was that I observed people commenting on the OGS chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure that Podpera will eventually turn pro if he continues to enter the pro qualification tournaments, because he's obviously an extremely strong player.
Yep.
He's definitely European professional standard because he has beaten European pros in the past.
Sure.
Like I'm not talking about before they turned pro. I'm talking about after they turned pro.
Yeah.
He's beaten some certified professionals.
Yeah.
So if he keeps entering the qualification tournaments, he will eventually turn pro. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
And if you look at Jan Simara has probably been around the European scene longer than Podpera has.
Yeah.
So he still has a lot of time. But yeah, big congrats to Jan Simara.
Yep.
And
don't give up, Lucas.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing Jan Simara in, the Grand Slam or the Grand Prix or the Transatlantic League, and seeing how he does there.
Yep. So that's awesome. European pros is now 9 players strong.
9 players strong, yes.
Yes.
Well, actually, yes, but only 8 are currently allowed to compete because Ilya Shikshin, being Russian, is not allowed to compete at the moment.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. But now, Kaza, let's move on to something we previewed, which is the women's Meijin in Japan. What's happened there? I think the Challenger final has happened, or was it the league?
So the women's Meijin in Japan, yes, this is a league system.
Yep.
So to be clear, in Japan they have open majors, and then for many of them there's a women's equivalent.
Yep.
So Japan has the Meijin title, which Meijin sort of means the best.
Yep.
And they have a women's Meijin.
Yep.
Yes, and they also have a women's Meijin, which is obviously for women professionals.
Yeah.
Now, the women's Meijin is the only women's tournament in Japan that uses a league format.
Right.
To determine the challenger. So they will have qualifiers. They'll have qualifiers for the players, and then they will, in the end, have, let me check, a league of, I think, 8 players.
Right. I can bring up the page of the league, but I do believe players like Sumire is in the league.
Yes, so typically, so my mistake, it's 7 players.
Right.
It's 7 players, and 3 of those spots are earned through qualification. So just knockouts until 3 players are left.
Yep.
And the other 4 spots are for the loser of the previous title match. And the top 3 players in the previous year's league.
Right.
Now, in this case, Nakamura Sumire was actually, if you recall, she actually was the challenger last year.
Right.
Losing to Fujisawa Arena. So she was actually the top seed in the league. So basically, if she tied for first, she would be ahead on tiebreak.
Yeah.
However, but more importantly, the league is a round robin. So everyone plays each other once, so that you play 6 games, and whoever has the most wins is the challenger.
Yep.
And in this case, Yuno Asami managed to win all of her games.
Yep.
So she obviously won the league. She was the only player that was undefeated. And her last game was on Monday, the 13th of March.
Yep.
And that was against Ji Yimin. Now, I think Ji Yimin, she needed to win the game to keep her to guarantee her spot in the league for next season. Otherwise, she would have to enter qualifiers.
Yep.
Whereas Yuno Asami had to win to guarantee first place because there was one other player on one loss, and that was Nakamura Sumire herself. She was on one loss.
Yep.
That loss, of course, was courtesy of Yuno Asami.
Right.
And Sumire's game was going to be on the Thursday.
Yep.
So essentially, if Yuno Asami lost and Sumire won, then they would both be tied on 5 wins.
Yep.
And I think what would happen there is they would have a 1-game playoff.
Okay.
To determine the challenger.
Yep.
So Yuno Asami had to win her game to guarantee first place.
Yep.
But losing, if she lost, she would still have a chance, but she still wanted to win, so she'd guarantee it. And she did win, so she guaranteed first place and a challenger spot.
Yep. In fact, she won the league 6-0. So
that's right. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Yeah, she went undefeated.
Yeah. So, guys, I'll just go through the other results of the other players. So Nakamura Sumire, as you can see, has 5-1, as you mentioned. She only has 1 loss.
Yeah, so that means she finishes second in the league. So that means she retains her spot in the league for next year.
Yeah. By the way, top 4 retains their spots.
Well, yeah, the top 4. But obviously, if first place wins the title match, then the previous title holder will enter the league.
Enter the league as the
number one seed.
Yeah. Now, and then we got Xie Yiming after losing the last game goes 2-4.
Yeah,
unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Yes, with 2 wins, she will have to re-qualify for next year.
Sure, and another player, Suzuki Ayumi, she was on the Hoban Cup team for Japan. She's on a 1-5 record, so she also needs to re-qualify next year.
Yes.
Now, on this website, it says beef Aiko, but that's new Aiko. But that's because new is just a word for beef, basically, in Japanese and Chinese. So she's on 3-3. So she makes the league because she would be one of the top 4 players. And another player that will need to requalify is Kobayashi Izumi. She's 1-5. And surprisingly, another top 4 stayer is Risa Ueno. That's Ueno Asami's sister. She's got a 3-3 record, so she stays in the league. So if Ueno Asami ends up not winning the challenger or not winning the title, we will again see the 2 sisters in the same league again next year. So that will be interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the women's Meijins. Looking forward to Ueno challenging Fujisawa Arena. I believe it's a best of 3. Yes.
It is a best of 3.
Best of 3, yes.
Best of 3, and it will start on the 14th of April. So it's not for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But best of 3.
Yeah. So now, Gaza, now that we've covered this something a bit more serious, maybe we can look at something a bit more lighthearted. There's something that's happened in the Daeju Cup, which I believe is for the age-restricted tournament, but the age restriction is different for men players and women players.
If you could allow me to give a bit of context for this one, because
sure.
I think I was the one that actually reported on this.
Yeah.
So we're going over to Korea now.
Yeah.
For a domestic tournament called the Daeju Cup, as you said, and it is it's a seniors tournament.
Yeah.
And I believe it is restricted to men over the age of 50 and women over the age of 30.
Right. Can you be 30 and consider a senior?
There are some very young looking Korean women that are participating in this Daeju Cup, and it wasn't until I saw their names in the Daeju Cup that I realized how old they were.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, that is the case, and Now this game was a round of it's a quite fast time controls. It's 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
And 3 40-second Byoyomi periods.
Yep.
And the game that we're looking at happened yesterday as of this recording, so the 17th of March. And it was a round of 16 game between two veteran players. All of these players are veterans, of course.
Yep.
But these players are Choi Myung-hun and Kim Hyo-min.
Yep.
Now, Kim Hyo-min is notable because she's actually the reigning Daeju Cup champion.
Yep.
She beat Lee Min-jin last year, which I believe we reported on.
Yes, we did. Yes.
In the final.
Yep.
So she's the current champion, and she actually won it while pregnant.
Yeah.
So she actually hasn't played that many games since then.
Yeah.
Although I think she's played enough games I think she made a final recently, a women's final.
Right.
If I'm just going to try and find
the
final that she won. I think it was perhaps the women's Kisung.
Right.
No, it wasn't the women's Kisung. It could have been the women's Kuksu. It was, yes, the women's Kuksu. She actually, since the Daeju Cup, she made the final of the women's Kuksu, losing to Choi Jong. But Kim Hyo-min has won a few titles in her career, all women's titles, but she is a 9-dan. I believe she was the perhaps the 6th women's 9-dan.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously a very strong player. And Choi Myung-hun, I think he's sometimes been a commentator on Baduk TV, but in his own right, he's a very strong veteran. He's won over 850 games in his career. And he did win. He won the LG Refined Oils Cup in 2000.
Right.
So it's not the LG Cup, but it's like a domestic. It was a domestic title in the past with the same name. And he also was runner-up in the Fujitsu Cup in 2001.
Right.
He lost to Cho Hun-hyun. But yeah, he's a very, very strong player. Anyone with over 800 wins is obviously has to be a good player. You can't get that many wins otherwise. And so that's the context. Now, this game, obviously, for just about all of these Daeju Cup games, they almost inevitably get down to the last Byoyomi because they use up the main time quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then they're playing in Byoyomi. Sometimes they'll have a couple of periods left, but in this case, they're both down to their last period of Byoyomi. And Choi Myung-hun is white, and he's leading.
Yeah.
So, according to the AI, he's up. He's up by a few points, but there is a ko that's being fought, and with a ko, complications can arise.
Sure.
But typically, those complications are either playing a bad ko threat, as we just saw in the European final, or ignoring a ko threat that shouldn't be ignored. An example of that was Kang Dong-yoon against Lian Zhao in the Maxim Cup last year.
Yep.
But in this case, I'm sure you can guess that Choi Myung-hun one of these players did make a mistake during the ko, and it was Choi Myung-hun who made the mistake. But the mistake that he made is not one that you see especially in professional play. Yeah. So if you go through the video, if you go through the clip here,
let's play the clip, Gaza.
Yes. Yeah. So you can see here, Choi Myung-hun is just about to respond to a ko threat.
Yes.
So he responds to the ko threat, and then Kim Hyo-min captures the ko.
Yep.
And let's see what Choi Myung-hun's next move is.
Now he's thinking. So he decides to take the ko. And
did you see what he did there?
He took the ko without taking
네.
another ko threat.
왜 그래요?
He took yes. He just retook the ko
패를 안 쓰고 때린
without
거
playing a
아니에요?
ko threat.
맞습니다.
That's you can't. Everyone knows you can't do that. That's
That's an instant
everyone.
loss.
Everyone
그걸 뭐 참고로 합니까?
is explained how the ko rule works.
Yeah.
Um,
And their facial
내가
expressions
그걸
are just
찝어주라고
priceless.
it's incredible
Chip
seeing
chip
yeah, it's
chip
incredible seeing Kim Hyo Min's face when she realizes what's happened, and Choi Myung Hyun doesn't realize at all until I believe the
뭐 단수 치는
the
팩감을
timekeeper,
Yeah.
the time recorder
때리는 거 아닙니까?
informs him that he's just made an illegal move.
패 안 쓰고 때린 거 아니에요? 뭐예요?
뭐예요?
And
왜 그래요?
under Korean rules, if you make an illegal move, you lose the game immediately.
맞습니다.
Yeah. And
So he lost the game by forfeit.
yeah.
할 수 없죠.
And Gaza, do you know what this means?
What?
This means that this is going into the official nominations for 2023 Pro Weiqi Awards in two categories. One is shit moves of the year, and the other is humorous moments of the year. Choi Myung-hyun.
Yeah, this has to be a nominee. This absolutely has to be a nominee. Now, it has happened in the past that there are game records of professionals losing on forfeit because they retook a ko
Yeah.
without playing a ko threat. This is the first time I've ever seen it in a live stream, on video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was a live stream as well.
Yeah.
So if you go to the YouTube the YouTube stream for it, you can see all the live comments. Most of them are in Korean,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's quite interesting to see these live reactions.
Yeah.
Now, I believe the most famous example of a ko being retaken without playing a ko threat was by Cho Chi-hoon.
Yeah.
I don't remember what title match it was, but it was in a Japanese title game. It was actually the 14th Judan
Right.
in 1975.
Yes.
Now,
And Cho Ji-hoon is probably the only player to have done that and not lost the game.
yes, that's actually it's actually a good point that you raise. That Cho Chi-hoon ended up not losing the game. I think it was the Judan,
Yeah.
but yeah, what happened was Cho Chi-hoon asked the timekeeper if it was his turn to take the ko,
Yeah.
and the timekeeper mistakenly said that it was his turn.
Yeah.
And so he retook the ko, which was an illegal move, but which typically would result in a forfeit loss.
Yeah.
But apparently, because the timekeeper incorrectly informed him that it was his turn to take the ko, the game was declared a no result.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
Chochi, it wasn't. Cho Chi-hoon wasn't given a loss. It was basically declared a null. The game was voided. It essentially didn't count.
Yeah.
Which is annoying because it wasn't early in the game.
Yeah.
Um,
And the thing is, like, I don't know how you feel about this. But
actually, no, it wasn't the Judan. Sorry. I'll have to try and find which game it was. I think it could have been the Meijin actually.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it was the Meijin, and it wasn't against. Yeah, it was in 1980. Sorry, my mistake. It was the Meijin in 1980. Cho Chi-hoon against Otake Hideo.
Right. Yeah.
And Cho Chi-hoon, he won the title. That was actually, I think, his first Meijin title. Yeah, it was his first Meijin title. But game four ended up being void because he asked if it was his turn to retake the ko, and the referee gave him the wrong answer.
Yeah. No, guys, I don't know how you feel about this, but I didn't know that you could just blame it on the referee. But hey, Now, Gaza, another interesting thing here is that supposedly under the Chinese rule, if you did that, if you took the code before you found the code thread, you don't lose the game immediately. Now, apparently, what happens is that you get docked 1 point. You get docked 1 stone, so that would be 2 points. So that's actually what happened, and it's actually happened in one of the Chinese domestics. I believe it was Chang Hao versus someone, maybe Zhao Gang, Zhao Weigang, or one of the strong Chinese players of the 90s. So he took the code without playing code threat first, and he got docked 2 points. I believe it might have actually happened twice in the domestic history. One of them maybe was Chang Hao, and he actually ended up winning the game anyway. But anyway, that's just the rule is the rules. And now, Gaza, after we covered this Daeju Cup hilarity moment, I wanted to hand it over to you to cover some Korean news. Gaza, do you want to take it away and tell us a little bit about what's happening in Korea?
Yes. So I did want to give a bit of an update on the Korean domestic scene because it's sort of going in a bit of swing at the moment. Now, perhaps we should start with the Korean League because, usual, while we're recording this podcast, a Korean League match is happening.
Yeah.
And so I will just post in the chat the link so that people can go over and watch that if they prefer.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Korean League, I want to give a bit of an observation here.
Yeah.
Now, can you believe that there is a team in the league that went 3 straight matches with only one of their team members winning any games? All of the other members in the team failed to win a game during that streak of 3 matches.
Oh wow!
Now that has happened in this league, and do you know which team I'm talking about?
That is
It's got to be Team Japan, right?
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Oh damn! I'm wrong.
It's not Team Japan. Team Japan has never gone 3 straight matches without different players winning games. They've gone 3 straight matches without winning a match.
Yeah.
But they always had they always had at least 2 different players.
Yeah.
Win games during that match. No, the team I'm talking about is Team Kicks.
Or Team Kicks.
Now,
that's the team with Shinjin So.
That's right. That's Shinjin So's team. And if you, I'll quickly post you a link in the chat so you can maybe look at it a little bit. It's a little bit easier to see.
Yeah.
But if you scroll down, it'll show you. Okay, it'll show you their last 3 results. Now you don't need to. You don't need to put it on translate. You can turn it off translate.
Yeah.
Now, if you click the arrow on the right,
yeah,
yes, it'll show you their most recent results. Now, if you look at their last 3 games, their last 3 matches are 3-1, 4-0, and 3-1, and Kicks has been on the losing end on all 3 occasions.
Yep.
And in the matches where they only got 1 game win, who won that game?
Shinjin So.
That's right, Shinjin So. So in their last 3 matches, only one player, Shinjin So, has won any games.
Oh wow!
All of their other teammates in the last 3 matches have won a whopping no games.
Oh wow!
It really is. It really seems like this team is running the experiment of what happens if you team Shinjin So up with a bunch of people that have forgotten how to play.
Yeah.
What happens? And well, this is the result.
Yeah.
We can see what's happening.
Yeah.
Quite astonishing that, and of course, even in the middle of that, there was a game where even Shinjin So lost.
Oh wow!
But of course, remember if you recall, we did talk about that. He played that game a couple of hours after he just secured the Maxim Cup.
Yeah.
For Korea.
Yeah.
So perhaps
Couldn't
perhaps
care less.
perhaps he has a little bit of an excuse. His teammates, on the other hand, I'm not sure what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And so it looks like Shinjin-so could end up winning could end up getting the most wins in the entire league. He currently has 10 wins,
Yeah.
which is tied for the most with Park Chun-hwan and Shin Min-jun.
Yeah.
But so he could get the most wins in the regular season, but his team looks like they're not even going to make the playoffs.
Oh wow.
And I'm pretty sure half of the teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And his team is looking sketchy right now.
Yeah.
It's certainly not Shinjin Zo's fault.
Yeah.
Now, since the last time we talked, I'm not sure if we mentioned Team Taiwan
Perhaps.
on Sunday. Team Taiwan played on the 12th
Yeah.
of March, a Sunday. Now, we would have been recording at the time,
Yeah.
but Team Taiwan was playing Korea Zinc.
Yeah.
And we do have, there are a couple of notable moments there. Yoon Jun-sang for Korea Zinc finally got his first win
Yeah.
in the Korean League this year. He beat Lai Junfu,
Yep.
who is on his own actually yet to win a game
Oh wow.
for Team Taiwan. I think he's the only Taiwan player that hasn't yet won a game.
wow.
I'm just going to quickly check that now.
Yeah.
But also Choi Jong lost to Team Taiwan's number 8 seed, Zhu Wenjun.
Oh no, Xu Jing'en.
Oh,
London.
Xu Jing'en. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got the name wrong. Xu Jing'en.
Yeah.
He's also the youngest player in the Korean League for any team,
Oh wow. Yeah.
not just for Team Taiwan. So
Very nice. Beating a 9-10 and
yes, yeah, and I can
13 in Korea?
I can confirm that Lai Junfu is now the only Team Taiwan player yet to win a game.
Oh wow.
Now, despite Choi Jong losing, Korea Zinc still won 3-1. Notably, the top seeds for both teams, Zhu Haohong and Shin Min-jun, played each other on board 2, and Shin Min-jun prevailed in that.
Yeah.
So Taiwan failed to get a match win in that game, but then they were to play another game. They played another match on the Wednesday, the 15th of March,
Yeah.
and this time they were playing Celtrion. Now,
Oh wow.
the interesting thing is this was actually Taiwan versus Celtrion was actually the very first game, the very first match of this season's league. And if you recall, Taiwan actually won that match.
Yeah.
So this is a rematch of sorts. In this league, every team that's in the same group, they play each other twice.
Yep.
So this is the second time they're playing Celtrion. So we're kind of we're more than halfway through the league now. And this time Celtrion were able to get revenge. Zhu Haohong he lost again. So this time he lost to Yun Chan-hee. And Wang Wanjun, Taiwan's number 2 player, he lost to Kim Yong-hun.
Yep.
And despite the fact that Chen Chi-ri was able to beat Choi Cho-han, Team Taiwan still lost 3-1 to Celtrion.
Yep.
So in a span of 4 days, Team Taiwan lost 2 matches 3-1. So they ended up with no match points for those games. So it is looking like they're almost basically guaranteed to not make the playoffs. And it's looking very much like they could finish last.
Yes. Well, they're on a 2-7 record so far. So that and the next one worst record in the team are both on 4 wins. 4 losses or 4 wins and 5 losses. So
well, actually, Taiwan has 7 match points, and Team Kicks they're on 10 match points, but they have a game. They've got a match in hand.
Match in hand, yep.
And that match in hand is actually tomorrow, and it's against Team Japan.
Oh wow!
And I told you, Team Japan are obviously, I mean, objectively speaking, they're the worst team in the competition.
Yep. I mean, can't argue with that. Yeah.
Because, well, they haven't won any matches.
Yeah.
And they've only got 2 match points. In 9 matches, they've got 2 match points.
Yeah.
And they're far and away the worst, least successful team in this league. But Kicks are struggling the most at the moment. As I said, they're the only team that went 3 straight matches with only one of their players winning any games.
Yeah.
So all of their players, except for Shinjin So, are on quite bad losing streaks. So it's kind of a matchup of, you know, the stoppable force against the movable object. To phrase it one way. Obviously, the interesting matchup of that round is actually the top 2 seeds. The top seeds are playing each other. Seki Kataro versus Shinjin So.
Oh wow.
So,
Looking forward to that one.
Looking forward to that one. I'm really not expecting. I have to be honest. I'm not expecting much of a contest
Right.
for that particular game.
Yeah.
But it is definitely up in the air. This could be Japan's, despite the fact that Shinjin So is on 10 kicks, this may be Japan's best chance to win a match so far this season.
Ironically, given Shinjin So is also on Team Kicks, so yeah.
Yeah, basically only one of Team Kicks' players needs to win a game.
Yeah.
And you can guarantee Shinjin So's going to win, and that makes it two wins already.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if it comes to 2-2, you can just put Shinjin So in the ace match, and it should be game over. But
Yeah.
you know, we'll see.
We'll see.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the update for the Korean League.
Yep.
Now, the next tournament I want to cover in the domestics in Korea is the Weiqi Construction Cup Xiaodai.
Yeah. Oh wow. Weiqi Construction Cup. So I'm gonna bring up the stats here. Yep.
Yes. Now, the Weiqi Construction Cup is it started this week.
Yeah.
It started this week, and it is a league system.
Yep.
And the format is that everyone plays each other once,
Yep.
and the top 2 players in the league will play a best of 5 match, a best of 5 final. Now, I have to remind myself of the format, but I believe the time control,
Yeah.
but I believe that it is something like 10 minutes
Yeah.
each and 40 seconds Fisher increment, which is different time controls to what we saw
Right.
last year. Last year,
Was 1 minute, I believe.
last year it was 10. There was no main time, and it was 10 1-minute byoyomis.
Yeah.
So very different.
Yep.
Actually, I correct myself. This year it's 15 minutes main time, and it's 40-second Fisher increment.
Very nice. Yes.
Yeah. So last year was just 10 1-minute byoyomis,
Yep.
and I'm guessing the organizers or the sponsors felt that wasn't the time control wasn't great for viewing, because on some occasions some of the players would spend the whole 1-minute byoyomi even from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So they'd spend 1 minute every move.
Yeah.
Which it can make for quite like hard to follow viewing because the moves are always sort of a minute apart.
Yeah.
Like there's really no flow to it.
Yeah.
That was an experience that I felt when I was watching the games live. So they changed it to Fisher timing, which I certainly prefer because you need to be more strategic with how you manage your time.
Yeah.
I feel, and they've given it 15 minutes main time. So yeah, definitely a significant change in the time format, and perhaps also somewhat of a change in the structure of the tournament. Last year was a round robin, and this year is also a round robin. So that's the same. However, last year had 10 players. This year there's only 8.
Right.
And the way they did it was the 2 finalists from last year got automatically seeded into the league.
Yep.
Then there were 3 qualifying spots.
Mm-hmm.
So there were no other seeds, which meant that Shinjin So, he didn't make the final last year, so he had to actually qualify.
Yep.
And I believe we mentioned this in last week's podcast. This is the first time since 2018 that Shinjin So has had to qualify for anything.
Right.
Prior to that, he always got a seed as a high ranking seed.
Yeah.
But obviously Shinjin So did qualify, as did Byun Sang-il and Won Song-jin. Now, there were 2 players, and by the way, if we're talking about rankings, Shinjin So is obviously ranked number 1. Park Jun-wan is ranked number 2. He was the runner-up last year, so he got in. Byun Sang-il is ranked number 3. Kang Dong-yoon, who was the champion last year, so he's in the league. He's ranked number 5, and Won Song-jin is ranked number 8 in the Korean rankings. So then, now the sponsors were able to pick 2 wildcards.
Yeah.
And they picked Shin Min-jun, who's ranked number 4. So he's the highest ranked player that didn't qualify. And interestingly enough, they also picked Lee Chang-ho. Now, he's obviously a legend. You know, he's got the most world majors and all that. But he's not even ranked in the top 50. He's ranked number 74.
Yeah.
So an interesting choice for the wild card. But obviously, you know, it's the sponsor's decision. And people want to see the legend play, so there he is.
Yes.
Now that's 7 spots, and the final spot is given to a youth player. It's not a wild card though.
Yeah.
So last year, because the sponsors want to see youth, they want to see youth represented and given more opportunities.
Yeah.
So last year they had 2 youth players picked as wild cards. This year they had a youth qualifier. Now, the qualifier was only for players born in 2006 or later. So players like Han Woo-jin, who were born in 2005, they had to go through general qualifiers.
Right.
And the person that ended up winning the youth qualifiers is a professional by the name of Kim Sung-gu.
Yep.
And his rating, according to the Korean ratings, his rating is 343.
Oh wow!
Now, you may think, okay, that's crazy. He's so low ranked.
Yeah.
But it's not just because you may think, oh, he's so low ranked, he must be bad.
Yeah.
It's not really the reason. The ranking is a little bit misleading here.
Yeah.
So what happens in the rankings is that if you've played enough games, you end up with an established rank.
Yeah.
And you go on sort of the full ranking system.
Yeah.
If you haven't played enough games, you sort of get like a provisional rank.
Right.
And your provisional rank is behind anyone with a full ranking. Even if the people with the full ranking have lost like their last 100 games.
Yeah.
Anyone with a provisional rank is ranked below them.
Yeah.
So basically, there are 342 players with a full ranking.
Right.
So and Kim Sung-gu hasn't actually played enough games to get a full ranking yet, so he's still got a provisional rank. So that's why he's 343.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I checked how many games he's played. Before this tournament started, he'd played a whopping 7 games as a professional.
Oh wow.
And 4 of those games were qualifiers for this tournament.
Right.
So, yeah, he really hasn't played much games. But one of the players that he beat, like you would have thought, you know, the top players ranked born 2006 and later, probably Kim Yoon-ji is the first name that comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe even, I'm guessing that Jong Yoo-jin would still be young enough. I'm not entirely sure on that, but Kim Yoon-ji is certainly competed in these youth qualifiers. Well, she actually lost to Kim Seung-gu. Kim Seung-gu was the one who knocked out Kim Yoon-ji.
Oh wow. Yep.
So that's why Kim Yoon-ji didn't get the qualifying spot. I'm just checking. Yeah, Jong Yoo-jin was born in 2006, so she would have been in the qualifiers. She obviously lost. I'm not sure who she lost to, but Kim Seung-gu was the one that got the qualifying spot. Oh wait, so she lost to Kim Seung-jin.
Oh wow.
And I think Kim Seung-jin ended up losing to Kim Seung-gu. So
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So he's already, like, he's basically just turned pro, and and he's already in a big tournament.
Yep.
And has to play, five of the top five players in Korea. So one of his very first professional games is going to be against Shin Jin-so.
Yeah. Oh,
Pretty
wow.
nuts, yeah.
Pretty nuts. Great opportunity.
But what an opportunity for him. Hopefully, it'd be pretty amazing if he managed to snag a win somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, the tournament has started, but there haven't been that many games. I don't think even Shin Jin-so has played a game yet. So very, very early days. I think Park Chun-hwan beat Byun Sang-il. That was the first game of the league. And Won Sung-jin beat Kim Seung-gu.
Yep.
Yes. And I believe also, Kang Dong-yoon won his game against Lee Chang-ho. And that's the only games that have been played. So not even everyone's played one game. So very, very early days.
Yeah.
So that's it for the Weiqi Construction Cup. Now, Zhao Dai, the next tournament I want to look at is the Maxim Cup.
Maxim Cup, yes.
Now, this one is a domestic in Korea, but it's an invitational.
Yeah.
So it's not a major. It's a big prize money tournament, but it's not a major because it's only for 9 dans.
Right.
And not even all 9 dans participate. It's sort of, you have to be, it's like 27 of the top ranked 9 dans and then 5 wildcards.
Yeah.
Sponsors picks. Now, the Maxim Cup, it started off slow in terms of, because obviously, in the round of 32, you've got to play 16 games, so they take time.
Yeah.
But we're down to the semi-finals.
Semi-finals, yes.
And we have some interesting semi-final matchups. The semi-finals are going to be taking place this week on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the Monday semi-final is actually between two... No, I'm not... Yes, I believe it's between... maybe one of them... One new debutante, Maxim Cup debutante, and I believe the other player is only playing in his second Maxim Cup.
Right.
And that is Lee Won-young and Han Seung-ju.
Han Seung-ju, yes.
Now, Lee Won-young is very surprising because I wasn't even... He seems like one of those 9 dans that he's never really... Like, he's never won anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to have perhaps even made... I'm not sure if he's even made the final of anything, certainly nothing big.
Yeah.
And he's just basically turned 9 dan by accumulating points.
Yeah.
Because in Korea, you basically just need to accumulate points and you turn 9 dan.
Yeah.
And I've noticed in the past when I've posted about people becoming 9 dan, sometimes I'll see comments like, "Oh, the Korean system is so like the Korean pro system is so lame, like too easy to get. It's too easy to get 9 dan.
Yeah.
It's all that blah blah blah." And I'm pretty sure that when Lee Won-young turned 9 dan, there would have been a couple of comments of that regard. But well, he's beaten Park Jin-sol, he's beaten Han Sang-hoon, and he beat Shin Min-jun in the opening round. Shin Min-jun is a former Maxim Cup champion. and currently the number 4 ranked player in Korea. So
Yeah.
he's beaten quite a few players to get to the semi-final. And Han Sung-ju, I just checked, this is actually also his first Maxim Cup. So this is 2 Maxim Cup debutants.
Right.
Now, Han Sung-ju is a former top 10 ranked player in Korea. He has won a tournament. It wasn't a major, but it was a smaller domestic tournament. I think he won it at the end of 2021.
Yep.
I don't remember the name of the tournament, I'm afraid, but yeah, he's a former top 10 player in Korea. I think he's currently ranked number 13 now.
Yep.
And he has beaten in the Maxim Cup.
Park Jun-hwan.
Did he beat Park Jun-hwan? Yes.
Well, yeah. Look,
He
and,
beat Park Jun-hwan.
and Kim Min-hyun. Believe it or not.
He also beat Park Young-hoon.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, he beat Park Young-hoon, Park Jun-hwan, and Kim Young-hoon
Yeah.
to get to the semi-final. So very
big list.
impressive.
Very impressive. Big list of scouts. Yes.
Now, in the other semi-final, we've got Hong Song-ji.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a veteran. He's sometimes does some commentating on the Baduk TV channel.
Right.
Interestingly enough, but he beat Jin Si Young, who I believe is a newer 9-dan pro.
Yep.
Lee Young Kyu,
Yep.
who is another veteran player, and Kim Ji Sok,
Yep.
who is a former Maxim Cup champion.
Yes.
I believe he won it just 2 years ago, actually.
Yes. Yep.
So Han Sung-ji is in the semi-final, and his semi-final opponent, well, you may be thinking, well, there's so many big names that we haven't mentioned. Well, Park Jun-hwan, we've already said has lost. Shin Min-jun, we said has lost.
Yep.
I mean, who's the other semi-final opponent? Could it be Choi Jong? Could it be Kang Dong-yoon? Could it be Byun Sang-il?
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's Shin Jin-so.
Yeah.
Shin Jin-so is the other semi-final opponent.
Yeah.
Now, I say obviously, but actually in the past 2 years, he's lost in the round of 16.
Right. Yeah.
So he's won the Maxim Cup before. In fact, he's the youngest ever Maxim Cup champion, but he doesn't have a huge success rate in this tournament.
Yeah.
But this year, he's currently made it to the semi-final. He beat Lee Ji-hyun in the first round. Then he beat the veteran Cho Han-seong in the second round. And here's his name, Byun Sang-il. Byun Sang-il fell victim to Shin Jin-so in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So that was a great quarterfinal as well. But yeah, Shin Jin-so is in the semi-final.
Yep.
And you have to say he's the overwhelming. He's going to be the overwhelming favorite to win this Maxim Cup.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, it will be interesting semi-finals. We've got two debutants in one semi-final. So both of them have a no losses in their Maxim Cup career, undefeated. And then we've got the veteran Hong Song-ji against the god himself, Shin Jin-so. So we'll give you an update next week.
Yep.
As to results of those games.
Yep. So yeah, that's the Maxim Cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now there's one more Korean tournament that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
There are actually two that are ongoing, but there's only one that I really care about.
Yeah.
And that is the Korea's Strongest League.
Yes.
Now the Korea's Strongest League is well underway. We're almost halfway into the league.
Yep.
And the way that this league works is it's similar to the Weiqi Construction Cup in that it's a round robin. However, in this case, there are 9 players in the Korea's Strongest League, and the games are much slower. They're 2-hour games.
Yep.
Which is some of the longest time controls in Korean tournaments.
Yep.
Really, the only Korean tournaments that have longer time controls are the international tournaments, the LG Cup. So, yeah, it's definitely a slower format, and the format of this competition, this league, is that you basically have to win the league,
Right.
and it's a title holder challenger system. So this league is just to determine who is the challenger in the title match.
Yep.
Of course, the title currently being held by Shin Jin-so.
Of course.
So
Who else?
So, yes.
Yeah.
Now, a current update in this league is that I believe Park Chun-hwan is the only player with no losses.
Yes. He's on 3-0. Yes.
Yes. So most players have played 3 games. I'm going to quickly check. But I believe Park Chun-hwan is the only one with 3 wins. Yes, he's the only one with 3 wins. So he's obviously in the best spot. The best spot at the moment. Obviously, if he continues winning, he will win the league and will get that challenger position. On the other hand, if you finish in, I believe, the top 4, you will, yes, top 4, you retain your spot in the league.
Yep.
Now, yeah, I'm just quickly checking. Everyone has played 3 games except for except for Park Min-kyu, Park Yun-ho, and Shin Min-jun.
Yep.
So currently, Park Chun-hwan is on 3 wins. Won Song-jin is on 2 wins. Byun Sang-il and Lee Chang-seok are all on 2 wins as well.
Yep.
Now, Shin Min-jun and Park Yun-ho, they've only played 2 games, and they've both got 1 win and 1 loss.
Uh-huh.
Park Jin-sol, he's played 3 games, but he's managed to win 1 game.
Yep.
And then finally, you've got Park Min-kyu. He's played 2 games and has lost both of them. And at the very end, Choi Jong, the wild card, she has played 3 games and she's lost all 3.
Yep.
And there's an interesting point that I want to mention with Choi Jong, because there was a recent article that came out that was posted on the Baduk subreddit.
Right.
That had an interview with Choi Jong, which said her aim was to make top 10 in Korea.
Yep.
In the Korean domestic rankings. Now, I did a bit of historical research, and I believe that no woman has ever reached the top 10 in the Korean.
Not even Rui Wei.
Not even Roy Na Wei. In fact, I believe that, as far as I can see, Choi Jong is the only one who's made the top 15.
Right. Yeah.
And she did that in the February rankings when she reached number 13.
Yeah.
And that was based on an extremely long period of very strong form that started in the Samsung Cup and continued right until the end of January.
Yep.
Where she seemed to win a lot of games, both in women's competition and open competition.
Yeah.
She had very good results in the Korean League, and she was just winning a lot of games.
Yeah.
And that pushed her up to a career highest ranking of 13. But unfortunately, from February onwards, that progress seems to have halted or plateaued.
Yep.
And she's only now won 2 of her last 10 professional official games.
Right.
So she's currently in a bit of a lull at the moment, and her rating has dropped 1 point from the February to the March ratings. It dropped 1 point, so she's now 14th. And she's lost a few more games in March, so it's likely that her ranking will drop even a bit lower come the April rankings. And yes, I'm thinking that, her goal is to make top 10 in Korea. And, considering she made the Samsung Cup final, she's, top 10 is not an unrealistic goal. Like she's someone who can beat players in the top 10. So it's only reasonable that she has a chance of making the top 10. But the thing is, to be in the top 10, you have to consistently win against players outside the top 10, and then you have to also have decent results within the top 10. And currently, I mean, her best opportunity to make the top 10 is to win against highly ranked players, and this Korea's strongest league is one of the best opportunities to do that, because she's guaranteed to play 8 games. They're all against, top 30 players. So any wins against these players are going to really boost her ratings. The problem is she hasn't won any of those games yet.
Yep.
So I mean, yeah, she's got a great opportunity to win, like to get some rating points, but she has to actually win the games first. So it's you know it's definitely possible to make the top 10, but unless you win the games, it's going to be even more difficult. So
Yeah.
I genuinely do hope that she makes the top 10. I think it would be fantastic, and it would be even more influential for women's Baduk.
Yep.
What I ideally want to see is more women players in the top 50.
Yep.
It's been a long time since someone other than Choi Jong has been in the top 50.
Yeah.
But there was a period in the early 2000s when there were 3 players in the top 50. You had Roy Na Wei, you had Cho Hee Yeon, and you also had Park Ji Yoon. But I mean that was maybe 15 years ago. It's so long ago that Park Ji Yoon is actually semi-retired now.
Yeah.
So quite a while ago. But it's definitely possible to have multiple women in the top 50. And I really, really would like to see it happen. Maybe Kim Yoon Ji will be the next woman to challenge that top 50 status. We've got Kim Chae Young, who's managed to reach the top 70, but that's not quite top 50. There's still a way to go.
Right.
But yeah, I ideally want to see more women challenging those top ranks.
100% agree. I guess what all I can say is Choi Jong Gaza.
Yes. All the best of luck to her. I do hope that she does win some games in the Korea Strongest League. It would be, it'd be very good. Now, that was all that I wanted to talk about in the Korean domestic scene, Xiao Dai. There's also the Korean Kiwon.
Yep.
Which is another domestic tournament, but that one's still in the very, very early days. So not worth discussing this podcast.
Which is perfectly fine. But Gaza, you were talking about Choi Jong. She is an incredible woman, for sure. But from one incredible woman to another incredible woman, and this woman is arguably even more incredible. And this is 96-year-old. What's her name?
She's so incredible that you don't recall her name.
Kazuko Sugiuchi. Okay, that's this woman.
We talked about her before.
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
Sugiuchi Kazuko.
Yes, she's 96 years old, and incredibly, she is still playing as a pro. Of course, her late husband was also a pro that played into his 90s as well. But she's still going. And not only is she still playing, she's currently ranked as an 8 dan. Not only is she still playing, she's actually winning. She actually won another game in the most recent, I believe it was the Kisei prelim. And he won against Miyazaki Ritaro. Which is and this is the Kifu pictured here, the end of it, and I mean she plays. I think she plays in quite a bit of prelims, but as you can imagine, at her age, it's a bit rarer to get a win. So every time she gets a win, maybe it's like a couple of times per year, I get really happy, and I guess the internet does quite a bit of reporting about it. And apparently, when people were going through the game, she was fighting throughout the whole game. So she's got great fighting spirit at 96. So you got to give it to her. So this is just a celebration of her Go playing career. And, she was pictured here on Japanese national TV playing professional Go still. So
yeah, Ryutaro Miyazaki is no easy beat. Right. Either because he actually, he entered the Gosei tournament just 8 years ago.
Right.
He's only about 50 years old, so he's not like a really young player or a really old player. And he's a 7 dan pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty impressive scalp.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, especially 96 is Really
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. Now, Gaza, I do believe there's a rule that that if you pass away, you also get upped one rank. But I'm not sure if that applies to 8 dan to 9 dan as well. I mean,
From what I've seen,
Yeah.
anyone when you retire, if
Yeah.
you retire or you pass away as an active, you get a special
right.
1 dan promotion, and as far as I'm aware, that does apply to 8 dans. I've seen
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I've seen in news announcements like they say that they get a special
Mm.
1 dan promotion, but I'm not sure if that would count her. That would if for instance she retired
Mm.
or passed away,
Yeah.
she would definitely get a special promotion to 9 dan, but I'm not sure if they would officially consider her to be the first Japanese 9 dan.
Mm.
If you
Women
get
9 dan.
if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, but that I mean, being 8 dan is tantalizingly close anyway. I'm not sure if at her win rate she'll move up on rank while she's alive and still playing.
I've got no idea how many wins she needs to get to 9 dan, but
yeah,
we should make it point out that in Japan, having been female gives
Yeah.
you no benefit in
Right.
in the dan promotion system.
Right.
Because the women's tournaments do not count at all
Yeah.
towards promotion. The only tournaments that count towards promotion are the open tournaments.
Yeah.
This is very different in Korea, where women's games do count towards promotion. They're given less promotion points than the open games. They're given 1/4 of the weight
Right.
of an open game. So basically, in women's tournaments, you have to win 4 games, which is the equivalent of 1 win in an open tournament. But
Yeah.
if you win a women's tournament, you still get a full 1 dan promotion. One dan promotion. So in Korea, there is definitely a benefit for female players to get more rating points. Like, so if you're the strongest women's player in Korea, you're more likely to get to 9 dan, even if you're not necessarily that strong. Like, just as a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Whereas in Japan, if you're far and away the strongest women's player, there's no benefit. Like, you're not going to get extra dan levels. You actually need to win in open competition. So
Sure.
So I'm just saying that, like, getting to 8 dan in Japan is very impressive.
Yeah.
And being a woman that didn't get her any sort of benefit whatsoever in getting to 8 dan.
Sure. I mean, so her achievement on its own, getting the 8 dan is quite substantial already. So
Yes.
and she's still winning games at 96. So I can only say that, wish her all the best. Now, guys are staying in Japan. Another small piece of news. You may remember this guy, Yoda Norimoto.
Yes.
And we've discussed him being banned. In fact, he made the Samsung Cup by the senior section of the Japanese qualifiers. But then because of his ban, he had to pull out. And that's how Sumire got into the Samsung Cup. And
we think that's how. Technically, Sumire and Oyujin were both given wildcards at the same time, but we did theorize that Sumire wouldn't have been given that spot if it wasn't for Yoda.
Sure, yeah. So, but now Yoda's ban has been the ban period has now elapsed, so he's now allowed to play in pro competitions again. So we'll see more of him hopefully now.
There is an interesting issue that has happened though.
Yeah.
With that, in that Yoda Norimoto is actually in the Kisei B League.
Right.
And one of his games was in February.
Right.
Which was while he was banned, and so he lost by forfeit. And that it does raise an interesting question. the other player was Sakia Numadate. I believe he was the player who he was one of the Japanese Yi League players.
Right. Yep.
Sorry, Numadate Sakia.
Yeah.
I believe he was one of the Japanese Yi League players. I believe he was the one that had a particularly poor record.
Yeah.
In the Yi League.
Yes.
I think he lost all of his games actually.
Yeah.
But he got a win by forfeit against Yoda Norimoto. And it does raise the question, like, is that fair? And I'm not saying is that fair for Yoda, but is that fair for the other players in the league?
Yeah.
Because you could argue it doesn't matter if it's fair if it's fair or not for Yoda, because Yoda was being punished.
Yeah.
Let's just hypothetically say that what Yoda did was wrong and he deserves the punishment.
Yeah.
Then he's really got nothing to complain about personally. Like he did the crime, he's got to do the time. So the forfeit loss is, tough luck. But what about the other players in the league? They don't get a forfeit loss against Yoda Norimoto. They have to play. Yeah. They have to fight Yoda Norimoto to get a win, to get that same win that Numadate Sakia got for free. Yeah. It seems a little bit unfair then.
Yeah.
But then again, you can't just void in the cases. Because typically what happens when a player has to forfeit, has to be punished or serve a suspension or forfeited, is typically what will happen is a player, it usually doesn't happen partway through a league. What will often happen is a player will withdraw from a league halfway through or something like that, or they'll be disqualified from the league halfway through.
Yeah.
And then typically what happens is all of the games that player played gets voided.
Right.
So the league is essentially reduced by one player.
Right.
And in that case, there's no serious disadvantage because none of the games that the withdrawn player played counted. So it's just games between the other players. But in this case, you can't do that because Yoda Norimoto is still in the league.
Yeah.
He only forfeited one game. So theoretically, he could still qualify from the league. So you have to count all of his games.
Yeah.
But then what about the other players? Like, what if Numadate Sakia wins the league by one game against someone, against someone who and the reason why is because the person he beat by one game ended up losing to Yoda Norimoto. Yeah. It's really something that it can't really be solved, but it is an interesting hypothetical, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I guess my solution, my way of thinking about that is, at the beginning when they did the draw, every player in the league had a chance of drawing, Yoda Norimoto as the first game. So it was just a luck of the coin. So if you didn't get that draw, well, you had slightly better luck, worse luck. So, and you can't really avoid it. So,
no, you can't really avoid it. And this isn't unique to This isn't unique to Go. There are plenty of competitions where a team will have, because they committed, they'll commit an infraction during a league, and as a result they lose their next game, they forfeit their next game. Yeah. I actually played in a soccer competition once where my team had to forfeit a game. Yeah. I do want to point out the reason why we forfeited the game was complete bullshit. Yeah. And it was completely unfair on us, and we didn't deserve to be forfeited a game. Yeah. But that's neither here or there. The fact of the matter was we were forfeited a game, and so our next opponent in the schedule got a benefit of a one-game win, and they ended up winning the competition. Well, they ended up finishing as premiers. Yeah. Mainly, big thanks to that free win that they got. So it's not really fair. But sometimes things just don't end up being fair. So whatever. I certainly don't think there's any real. There shouldn't really be any attempt
Yeah.
to make this fairer.
Yeah.
It's just, you're right. It's just the luck of the draw. But
Yeah. And
it is interesting to consider.
yeah. And Gaza, you know, Yoda, he's well known for liking his drinks, and this podcast was recorded on the 18th of March. But as we all know, the 17th of March was St. Patrick's Day, and I'm having a guess. I'm having a guess of what Yoda Norimoto did on the St. Patrick's Day. He did this. Hit a glass of Guinness, and he put all the ghost stones in there, in exactly this pattern. That's just a guess. I have no way of proving it, but let's move on.
Very nice.
Let's move on. Gaza.
I think some people celebrate St. Patrick's Day every day, but
Yeah. Well, can't blame them. Now, Gaza, this chart looks completely foreign to you, and you probably can't read anything in it. But there's a very interesting detail here I want to point out. And
is it Mlily?
It's Mlily. It's Mlily. Thank you very much. Those are the only Roman letters that you recognize. This is the fifth Mlily Chinese region qualifiers, and this is the qualifying chart for the group 16th group for men. And there's a name here that's very curious, Gaza. And you mentioned Shin Jin-so had to go through the Weiqi Construction Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
There's a name here, a big name. He has to go through the Chinese Mlily Cup qualifiers. And can you have a guess of who this person is?
I'm gonna guess it's Ni Wei Ping.
No, it's actually Kerje. This is very interesting because apparently, now I wish I had found that Weibo post, but someone counted how many days has it been since Kerje last had to go through a international competition prelim. Now, since Kerje won, I believe, the Mlily Cup, he has not had to go through an international prelim. So that's.
Are we not counting the Nongshim Cup?
No, Shingo. I mean, I guess we're counting individual tournaments.
Individual tournaments,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So and Kerje, and I think the tweet, the Weibo says it's about 8 years, this many months and this many days. But I believe it's more than 8 years since Kerje.
More than 8 years.
Yes, something like that. Since Kerje had to qualify for an international tournament. And
an international tournament,
yeah,
right?
And I guess, you know, the reason why Kerje didn't have to qualify was because he was doing bloody well. He won 8 international titles, but recently not so well. And Gaza,
he's lost all of his accumulated international points.
Yes, and he's not even number 1 in the Chinese ranking now. And you know, in recent memory, I just feel like that he's lost a lot more games than he used to, even versus last year. And Gaza, we might be getting a glimpse into why that might be the case, Gaza. And
what are you talking about?
Wow, this is Kerje appearing on a online show. And guess what this online show is about, Gaza? He's being interviewed here.
It's about Weiqi.
Wow, absolutely not. It's about this new online game that he's been invited to play. He's one of the star players to promote this game, and this is Kerje deep in the promotion of this game.
Is he playing against a monk or something?
No, he's playing against one of those. It's in China. It's called xiangsheng, which is basically like it's similar to a stand-up comedian. So they wear this traditional clothing that's kind of like makes him look like, but he's playing against like a comedian, and this is the video game that he's playing. He's helping to promote in this.
It's a mobile game, surely.
It might be a mobile and / PC game. It might be interconnected. Oh yeah, actually it's a mobile game. See, he's playing on a mobile. So yeah, so he's playing this game, and he's not playing Weiqi. He's just having fun, getting the sponsorship money. I mean, I guess how long would it be before, you know, his sponsorship money from this kind of thing just dries up because he's no longer the best player in China? So
this hurts.
It
I'm
hurts.
so disappointed in Kerje.
Yeah. But that's kind of the things that were happening, and that's as
It
far.
just feels like as soon as
Yeah.
someone has challenged him
Yeah.
for the undisputed number one player,
Yeah.
he sort of just he fought a little bit and then just gave up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's still good, but
Mm.
it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's sad to see.
Yeah.
It's sad to see.
See, and by the way, this game is called Infinite Border. I'm not sure if that's the. I'm not sure if this game is even available in the West in English, but in Chinese, it's the best translation for Infinite Border, and that's as far as I wanted to talk about Koji today. And Kaza, I have no other things to update, so I'm thinking about going to the calendar unless you have something that you think we've missed.
No, calendar.
Very good. This is the calendar that we're looking at, Gaza.
I updated this,
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
so it's up to date for at least the next week, maybe the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
like I said, I'll briefly mention the Korean events that are happening.
Yeah.
Now, I've already mentioned that the Maxim Cup semi-finals are going to be happening on Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah.
The Shinjin-so Hongsong-ji one will be on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Now, in the Korean League, we've got Japan playing Team Kicks, that's Shinjin-so's team,
That's right.
tomorrow
Yes.
on Sunday.
Hmm.
Tomorrow as of this recording.
Yeah.
And Japan will once again be playing Korea Zinc
Yeah.
on Friday,
Mm.
the 24th of March.
Yeah.
Now, other than that, we've got a couple of Korea's strongest league games, and we've got the YK Construction Cup. Shinjin So's first game is going to be happening on Wednesday. That will be against Shinminjun
Mm-hmm.
in the YK Construction Cup. And another big event, another big domestic tournament in Korea that's starting next week, the GS Caltex Cup.
Wow. Yep.
Now, you know what GS Caltex Cup is famous for.
Shinjin So having won it 5 times in a row.
That's right.
Yeah.
5 times in a row. And the very first game is one that I'm looking forward to, Sim Jae-ik versus Kim Byum-seo. Now, I'm a big fan of Kim Byum-seo.
Right.
He won the recent Hachan-seok gifted competition.
Yeah.
Although he's not a super young prodigy. Kim Byum-seo is about 18 already, but
Yeah.
I see potential. I see
Yeah.
potential in him.
100%.
And it's good to see him in the final
player.
24.
Yeah.
In the main the main final.
Yeah.
Like the final tournament of a domestic.
Yeah.
And we'll see how well he can go.
Yeah.
Now in Japanese news, we have one big game happening next week, and that is Judan Final Game 2.
Yes.
Sushawan against Shibano Torimaru. Now Shibano is leading that 1-0. It is a best of 5.
Yep.
So yes, there will be a game 3, but game 2 is on Thursday.
Yes.
Now, what is happening, Xiaodai, in the Chinese scene?
Well, in the Chinese scene, we have the continuation of the Changchi Cup. I believe it's just a prelim. I know we didn't cover it, but there's a bunch of pictures that are it's already appearing.
We can cover it next week.
Yeah, we might just briefly discuss it. There's a lot of players that have stayed dormant during the COVID period. They've come out to play in the prelim. So
I saw a very popular streamer playing in the Changchi Cup. Yes.
And she almost won, and we also, as we discussed about Kerji's involvement in the Mlily Cup Chinese prelim, the Chinese prelim starts Wednesday, 22nd of March, and will run for a few days. So we might give an update of that, especially if Kerji gets to show his face in that one.
We also had there was a Chinese competition that happened this week that we're hopefully gonna give an update on in next week's podcast.
Yeah, I believe that is the Tianyuan Challenger final that's happened. and we got a new challenger to challenge
No,
the current
didn't
Tian
no.
Yuan.
We mentioned the Chen. We didn't. We mentioned the Chen one. The Tian Yuan.
Tian Yuan. Yes, and okay, yeah, that's got a new challenger. I thought we covered up to the challenger final happening, but the challenger wasn't determined then. Last episode.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Is that so? We didn't
right?
get up to the
The final
Oh,
winner
damn.
of the final.
Okay.
Yes. And
Well,
but there was
maybe we
another
should-
Chinese domestic that happened, which is the 13th Longxing. That in that competition in Japan we call the Ryusei. In Korea it
Yes.
might be called what's it called? Ryungsang. Basically it translates to Dragon Star, you know. But it's like a step ladder knockout competition. And yeah, we might talk about that. But
We'll have to do a Chinese domestic scene update in next week's
Next
podcast,
week's
including
podcast.
the Tianyuan
yeah,
Challenger
Longxing
final.
and
Yes,
a
and the
bunch of-
Longxing.
and a bunch of prelims. But yeah, that's there's a lot of prelims. We're gearing up to the big May where all the internationals, like a lot of the international competitions, return. So these are prelim season and domestic season for a little bit.
Yes. But I'm very much looking forward to hearing an update on the Chinese domestic scene next week. Yes.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so Gaza, that completes our coverage this week, and including the calendar. I think unless you have anything else to say, it's time to say goodbye to our fans.
Yes, goodbye fans. See you next Saturday.
Yeah, see you next Saturday. Wow, I fan myself. Thanks, bye.